Welcome back to the Whiteboard. Today we're going to talk about how Iowa State's offense is hitting a little bit of that slog that we're not super sure, we don't know why it's gone from being really good in the early part of the season to being what it is in the last couple games where they've not scored a touchdown in 6 quarters now. They got 0 first downs in the 4th quarter and they had the capacity to win the game. And no point in the game was probably more frustrating for fans than probably this particular play. It's 3rd and 9 with 6.5 minutes to play. Iowa State just got the ball following a field goal by Kansas State on the 50-yard line on a squib kick. They are in the position where if they get to the 30, they get right there, they probably have the chance to give Jace Gilbert a perfect storybook ending on how to come back from the thing that happened against Kansas, and everything's all well and good, and they go to 4-1 and 1-2 in the conference, 4-2, and you're right back in it. And it doesn't happen. And they run a 2-yard drag to Xavier Hutchinson. Dumb. Okay, so let's take a step back and let's understand how plays happen, to understand where this ball should have gone, and to see whether or not it's a play call that's bad or execution that's bad, or what happened. How did this offense get so sloggy so fast? Okay, so the first thing we have to understand is the checklist that happens on any given play. So the first thing that has to happen, the quarterback has to get rid of the ball. He has to protect himself enough that he can spread the ball to somebody else, because the football is the most important thing in football, and he's the one that's responsible for getting rid of it. So on any given pass play, he's got to know that he is protected enough to throw the ball. He outsources that information to his offensive line, and his offensive line will do a couple gestures to make sure that they communicate to him that they know what they're doing. So you'll actually see in this clip, you'll see Trevor Downing do a little thing, and he's going to point, and it's right there. Okay, what's that doing? That's just indicating that, hey, he's talking at the same point, and that says to the rest of the offensive line, this is who we're blocking, or this is the person we're setting our blocking teams off of. So usually it's called +1 or -1 to that person. So -1 being to this side, +1 being to that side. So maybe the tackle's responsibility is a defensive end, and the running back's responsibility is Mike +1. So that's who we're setting everything off of. So Trevor Downing going like this means, hey, Deckers, I got you. Don't look at the protection anymore. You start looking at the coverage. Okay, so now we've offloaded the protection. Now we're going to start looking at the coverage. There's 2 things in any checklist, and depending on the scheme and the coordinator and the formations and the down and distance and whatever, it depends on whether it's 1-2 or the other way around. The 2 things that you're going to determine are, is it man or zone, and is it middle open or middle closed? Now let's break down those 2 things. The first one, let's go middle open or middle closed. What does that term actually even mean? It literally means that part of the field. Is that part of the field open or closed? If there's a person in it, it's closed. You cannot run a person in there because there's already a person there. If it's no one's there, as it is in this situation, it means middle open. So first read, middle open. Second read that we're going to be looking at is it man or zone? Now how do I know that? It's not as obvious as is there a person there or not. It's more on body language. If the secondary players across the board are eye to eye staring directly with a person, and they're not really looking around and looking at quarterbacks or other receivers or counting anybody, they're just like this. That's probably man. If you see him a little bit more open, or you see him kind of dropping or looking around, then that's probably more zone. So let's look at the body postures in a little bit. Once we get a kind of an indicator motion of what's happening, we're going to get a little zip motion down there and freeze. Okay, so looks like we have man eyes, right? So man eyes means I'm going to be face up here, face up here, face up there, and then looks kind of like this guy's face up there. So it looks like, if I've drawn up the defensive coverage, it looks like we are playing 2 high safeties, because they're going to split the field in half, cover 2, 2 high safeties, man underneath, and then these guys are responsible for the running back and blitzing. That's my pre-snap read. Okay, now what's step 3? Is if I've determined open closed, and I've determined if I'm going to be man or zone, is I have to understand that my post-snap read confirms my pre-snap read. I have to make sure that they're not going to spin. So what spinning coverage means is they're going to change it. At the snap, the defense goes, whoop, what you thought isn't true. Okay, so let's remove these yellow lines. And now let's work on what is actually happening in this route. So Jalen Knoll is going to be running up and across the field in kind of a deep over route. Deshaun Hanukkah is going to run right in the middle of the field, and we're going to have Sean Shaw or Dimitri Stanley running up here. So if it's this particular route, what's going to happen? If it's 2 man under, meaning 2 man underneath, then that should mean that this safety has to cover Jalen Knoll, because he's going to run right across his face. And this safety has to take one of these guys. So my read, if it stays middle open, is I'm going to make sure that this guy gets carried, and then I'm throwing to either one of these two that person doesn't cover. If it's middle closed, which doesn't look like it is, but let's see what happens after the post snap. Uh-oh, things changed. This guy came down. Now we're playing two-man under? That doesn't make any sense. If it's cover two, why is he coming down? What actually is happening is they're spinning coverage. They know that Deckers likes to lock into a receiver. They watched film on him. They understand how he thinks. So they're actually playing cover one. Now it's cover one, man under. Okay, so they've got a blitzer. They're bringing more than they can cover. Where should this ball go now? Jalen Knoll's still going across the middle. Deshaun Haneke's running right into coverage, and now I've got a deep shot over there. So it's cover one. This guy can't be right. Either he's going to play Deshaun Haneke, or he's going to play Jalen Knoll. I'm throwing to the other guy that he doesn't go to and trusting that my receivers are going to go make a play. All right. If he throws that ball right now to where the official is, that's probably a touchdown. That safety spun his way out. But what's not happening is reading, because Hunter Deckers at this point feels uncomfortable and feels pressure and only trusts one guy to do it. So where's he looking right now? Xavier Hutchinson. His eyes are nowhere near where his read should be. So what happens? Play clears. What happens? He's going to throw right to Xavier Hutchinson for a 2-yard gain on 3rd and 9. All right. We had a little technical difficulties, but there'll be more to come on Cyhawk Game Day.